Welcome back everyone to another episode of the Doom series, and in this video we are going to learn how to fix some problems with our wall textures. Alright, so first of all, let us take a look at our problem. So if I run make and I run this right now, you can see that everything seems to be kind of working. However, some of the textures are actually incorrect. And if I go here, the most noticeable example is that this stair texture. So you can see that these two stair textures are kind of okay. Well, this one is just being displayed at white, it's not the correct texture here. And you might be able to find some other examples in some other maps as well. But in the first map, this is the only example I could find. But this is a bit of a problem, and you might be wondering why this happens. Well, the reason this happens is because this is actually like a two-sided line depth. So the upper texture is on the front side, which is being drawn correctly. As you can see that this is the upper texture and it's being drawn correctly. However, this is actually the lower texture, and the reason this is not drawn correctly is because this is actually on the back side of the side def and not the front side. So this is on like the back side def, and we are only drawing the front side def, so that's a bit of a problem. So now, in order to fix that, what we will need to do is we will need to figure out the correct side on which to apply the texture, and the line depth does not give us that information, so we will need to use segments instead. Now, instead of loading the segments from OpenGL from the Doom WAD file, the Doom map, we're going to just use the GL segments that we have already loaded, and we're going to use those to make sure that this is drawn correctly. So to do that, let me go ahead and open up the actual project folder in which I made the changes. So in here I'm going to go ahead and first of all open up the WAD.c, because there is something very important that you need to understand here, actually WAD.h as well. So in WAD.h, actually not WAD.h, map.h, inside of this you can see for side def I have changed this from being a uint16 to just an int, because it's an index used inside of our application. We don't need to make it a uint16. And in WAD.c what we do is that here where we were setting all of the reading WAD, we are actually read side def here. So inside of our read side def function, you can see that we are setting everything here, but before we start loading the textures, we set all of those indices to -1, because in case we don't find a texture, then they will be -1 by default. So we just set them to -1, and if you find some other texture, we've set that to that value. So this will allow us to find out if a segment has a texture or not, and if a side def or a segment or whatever doesn't have a texture, that means it shouldn't be drawn. So this is some basic stuff. So now let's go ahead and open up our engine.c file, which is the other main file in which you changed stuff. So for the draw node, first of all I've removed the sector pointer, since we don't really need that anymore, and here I've removed the sector setting code from this as well. Now there are a couple of very important changes in the generate meshes function. So first of all, we've got our flat logic pretty much the same as we had earlier, but then what we have got is that you can see we have got this loop is now going over the GL map number of segments instead of going over the line depth. So we get the current segment based on the index, and if the line depth of that is equal to hex FFFF, which is the maximum value in an int 32-bit integer, and if it is equal to that value, then that means that there is no line depth according to the GL node specification. So if it's no line depth, then that means this segment is only used for like for the BSP, and it's not actually supposed to be for drawing. So we just ignore this and we continue. Otherwise we get the line depth, we set that to the correct value. Then we create two vector to start and end. This will represent the start and end of our line points, and we just basically use the same logic here as we did in the flat setting function, whatever, where we checked if the vertex was GL. This is basically a bitwise mask. So if it is, then we use the GL map vertices, else we use the map vertices. Similarly for end. Now after that, we create two side defs, the front and back side def pointers. We set that to the correct values. If the side flag on the segment is set, so this side flag, this one in the segment, if it is equal to 1, if it is set, then we are going to swap the front and back side def, and then we are going to get the sectors, and we're going to just get the side def and the sector as the front side def and the front sector. Now this will be pointing in the correct direction. Now if our line depth is two-sided, then we check if our side def lower is greater than or equal to 0, which means if it doesn't have a texture, we just need to ignore this. So if it's greater than or equal to 0, then we create the floor node, we set everything, and we don't actually have any redundant code here for setting the start or end or anything. We've got that in the main before we start this if statement. So in here, if you've got any of that, we set the create a new node and set it everything like we were doing earlier, and all of that stuff. And here, if for the ceiling node, we do the side def upper is greater than or equal to 0 check, and we also make sure that this and the ceiling flat of the front and back sector is not equal to the sky flat. This is just, you know, that sky hack that we were talked about in a few videos ago, which means that any incorrect walls are not drawn. So we have that stuff here, and if this statement is satisfied, then we go ahead and create a ceiling node as well, and we set that values and all of that stuff. So that's pretty basic. And in here we not actually check for the middle, because the middle texture is always supposed to be present, so there will be never an instance that the middle texture is not present. You might want to just add it anyway, so else if side def middle is greater than or equal to 0, then we're going to do this. Anyways, you can see that we basically go ahead and do all of that, and it's basically the same as the previous videos. So now if I go ahead and run make right now, you can see that we get almost exactly the same stuff here. We've got all of those things and it looks pretty awesome. But now you can see that the texture here is applied correctly, because now we are doing the correct side, and the upper texture, which is on the front side, is applied correctly, and the lower one is applied correctly as well. So that basically means that we have got all of our textures here for the side def working correctly with the use of segments and the basically the PSP tree kind of the GL nodes. Anyways guys, it's going to be pretty much it for this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Make sure to like and subscribe and share this video with other people as well, and bye.